Hello Apex Servers viewers, welcome back to our sessions MuleSoft for Salesforce developers. This is part 4 of developing APIs and let's get started. The agenda for today is, as usual, we will be discussing about the recap of our previous session. Then we will be discussing about the validation module and database connection. So we started using external systems, isn't it? In last session we have discussed about HTTP requester. So here in this session we will be connecting to another external system, database. Validation is a small component that I wanted to discuss. Okay, let's go with the recap of previous session. So we have discussed about things to remember when connecting to external systems. I will keep on adding this slide in every session of development of APIs whenever we are connecting to external systems, because those are the things that are really important to remember. Next, we have seen HTTP requester, how we can use. We have taken the example of weather API, and we have seen choice connector, scatter gather connector, right? So guys, as I always insist, please do hands-on if you want to learn. Practice is the only mantra that you can use. All right, so let's get started with the validation component. Actually, I don't use validation component a lot because I would like to do that process using DataWeave, but still examination point of view or certification point of view or interview point of view, or maybe in real-time projects, of course people will use validation components, but I don't usually recommend. Just for your understanding, I wanted to explain this validation component. It's very simple, it's all English there. So validation component will verify the content of the message, whether it matches the specified criteria or not. That is very simple. And it will proceed to further connector, like next connector, if the conditions are matched, else it will raise an error. Okay, and this is how the validation connectors looks like. So this is the component, and you can see multiple operations. Like for example, if you want to check like if it is a number or not, if it is a string or not, those kind of things you can use. Pretty simple things. Okay, let's do hands-on because I don't want to waste more time on the validation component, but when it comes to certification exam, this is really important. So coming back to our previous flows, I will keep all these flows as is. Okay, and you can see I have added multiple listeners, and I will add one more listeners for our use case here. So we are using validation component. So let me give some meaningful name. I can use any name, it's not mandatory to use, but always best practice to use a valid name. So yes, validation component. And if you see validation here, if you go to core and see if we have validation component here now, so validation, you can see validation here. Okay, so if you first drag and drop some connector. Okay, when you drag and drop some connector, you can see now validation component will be appearing over here. Okay, I will save it. And now what I wanted to do is, first I wanted to check if the person, the request that you are sending is a number or not. Any field if you are trying to send, we have to check whether it is a number or not. All that you need to do is drag and drop the connector, add the module configuration because it doesn't exist. Just click on plus and click on OK. That's it. Now you can keep any value here. So for now, what I wanted to do is I want to pass yeah, let me put a transfer message here. Okay, let me put a transfer message here, and JSON, and then payload dot id. That means in input I have to pass this payload dot id. Okay, then transfer message, I will keep another transfer message. I will say like if this is a number, whatever payload dot id is a number, then if it is a number, if it is a number, yes, then it will go to the next component, and then it will continue the process. If not, it will raise an error. So I will just select success. Okay, and in this is number, it is still showing error because here we have to keep. So mandatory configuration details are values, what value you want to keep. Here I gave payload.id, but here the transfer message itself is a payload. So here I'll try to put payload, click on fx, put on payload. Okay, and whenever you are selecting is number, there is an option also, like whether it is an integer or blah blah blah. I'll go with the integer for now. And you can also keep some patterns or minimum or maximum values and all. And message, if you are getting message, you can customize your message. I will say like, for now I am not, sometimes I will use fx, sometimes I don't. But if you are using fx, I told you, right, you have to say like, you have to put it in double quotes, this is not a number, please check. So customized message we can send. Okay, if you are not putting, if you are not clicking fx, as this is a string, you don't need double quotes. That is the difference. So I'll most of the times I keep fx, but this time I wanted to show you, like, you know, you can do by this way as well. Okay, now everything looks good for me. Let's try to run it, or debug probably. Yeah, whenever you are using any connector for the first time, please try to use your debugger. Okay, let me put debugger point here because I wanted to show that payload.id how. So if I'm passing payload.id here, right, then I have to pass it in the same way. So this is validation, and as I am passing payload, then that means I have to choose body, select raw. You can pass it like anything, like payload.id, that means a JSON. So I'll just keep like this. Okay, id colon 1 2 3. I am, for now I am passing a number, an integer value. Let's see what happens. So let me put over here. All right, let's see if the application is deployed. Yes, the application is deployed. Let me send the request. You can see the current payload value, because that is in blue dotted line. My current payload value is the whole id, like, you know, whole JSON object. But once I get out of this transform message, now my payload value is only 1 2 3, because I am transforming my payload into payload.id. Now this particular validation component will check. Now the name of the connector itself will tell you whether it is a number or not. Okay, even before doing this, I can use x plus y to check type of payload. Okay, if I evaluate, it is a number, so it should work actually. So you ask your question like this: is number, is it a number? 1 2 3, yes, it is a number. When you get an answer yes, it will go to the next connector. You can see here, yep, it is success because it is a number. Now what I will do is I will pass ABC here. Okay, send it again, id ABC. Next you can go ABC here. Now you can ask you a question like, is ABC, because it is having double quotes, is ABC a number? No. When it is no, it should raise an error. So before doing that, let me also cross check what the debugger is doing here. Payload, type of payload, it is a string, so ideally it should fail here. Okay, you can say this is failing, and you can see the customized message, the detailed description is, this is not a number, please check. Okay, this is not a number, please check. Right, this is the advantage of using validation component. Another interesting thing that I wanted to show you is 1 2 3 4. I will send 1 2 3 4, send it here, put x plus y, type of payload. Okay, evaluate, this is showing as string. Why? Because I am passing this 1 2 3 4 within double quotes, which will consider as string. So still it is taking as a success response, because sometimes, like is number, MuleSoft is very smart enough to, you know, try to convert internally if there are only digits here. Okay, so guys, this is really important when you are doing a real time, you know, this thing, like you have to make sure that your logic is proper. Okay, it is still, though it is saying string there, it is still showing success. But if I keep 1 2 3 4 a, this will fail now, because it will not convert internally. This will give an error and it will say like, this is not a number. But if you are passing all numeric values within string, still it will internally convert to a number. Okay, that's why it is passing. Okay, this is success. Okay, likewise you can, what you can do is you can use like multiple validation component connectors, like whether it is null. For example, let me put this here. Okay, let me delete it, is null. Again you have to configure this value. Yes, you can use the existing module configuration, and you can say payload, you can say like is null, is it null? If it is null, so you should not get confused. Okay, you are checking for is null, means the value should be null, then it will go. No, it is not a null value. That means if you are passing any value, this will fail because you are checking like is null. So you have to question yourself, is it null? Yes, yes means it will go next. Is it not null? No, like, so you have both connectors, is not null, is null. Okay, don't get confused with the namings. All right, so let's wait for it to be deployed and we can close this validation component connector. Nothing much to discuss about it. Probably we'll be discussing in the error handling session. So for now what I will do is id. Okay, I will send the same id. Here it is not judging, oops, it is not judging whether it is number or something like that. So here you can see id. Yes, now payload value is 1 2 3 4. Now question is it null? No, it is not null. So when you get answer no, it will fail because no, it is not a null value. That's true. Now what if I am giving like some wrong like name instead of this name? Okay, I will send this. I'm still getting name, but when I pass through this transfer message, it will be null because here I'm trying to put payload dot id, but payload dot id is not present, so it is giving us null. Now question arises, is null? Yes, it is null, so it will go to next value and say like success. Okay, this is all about validation connector. All right, so that is all with the validation component here. Now coming back to our slides, what we want to discuss is very important. I will repeat the slides. Things to do before doing before connecting to database. People who don't know about database, please go through some videos. What database means: it is a place where to store all the information. So before going to do this hands-on, you might need to do some kind of stuff. Like currently I am using MySQL for my demo purpose. So that is because that I feel like out of all databases, like when compared to Oracle or any other databases, I feel like installing MySQL is very easy on your local. This is on local. Okay, so install database. MySQL is easy to install on local. You can watch this video. I know that it is like a lengthy URL, but you can type it by looking at my screenshot. Take a pause, or you can, I have given a shortened URL. If this shortened URL is not working, there is only way that you can go and just type like on YouTube like how to install MySQL and go on the Edureka channel. That will give you a series of steps how to install that. Okay, and create a Salesforce developer account. I will show you after this. And I always say like do something beyond what we learned in this session. So whatever I am teaching is the basics, but you should always go beyond that and try to explore it. All right, practice is only the success mantra. So things to remember when you want to connect to external systems. The same slide that I have shown you in our previous session, I will reiterate everything. Again, I told like external systems are like database, Salesforce, SFTP, or any external web services. We have seen how to connect to external web services using HTTP requester in our previous session. Today we are going to discuss about database. So again, whenever you are connecting to external systems, you have to gather all the configuration details required to connect to that particular system. See the what that particular system is accepting, the type of request it is accepting, the security that is required, and the type of response that it returns. You have to always observe these few things. Okay, and good to know as usual how much time it takes to respond us. Okay, now coming back to our database connector, I told you like I have my database installed on my system, but please try to install on your system to do some hands-on. So mandatory configuration details, again in MuleSoft everything is like connector and configuration, so you have to know what are the mandatory details required. So driver is very important, host is important, port, user, password, database service name, whatever it is, SQL query text, and default values empty, but you cannot keep empty expression, it will not deploy your application. Okay, this is how database connector looks like. You have multiple operations. You can do select operation, you can do insert operations, bulk insert, bulk delete, everything based upon your use case. Remember, again, this is irrelevant for you. If you want to know bit beyond, you can just know for your information. This is just for your information, but don't need to remember these things. Okay, in Mule 3 long back, we used to have one database connector, and when we drag and drop that connector, there used to be a drop down list for us to select the operation, like select, update, delete, and insert. But in Mule 4, we have separate connectors for each operation. That is the advantage in Mule 4. Okay, not only database, in Salesforce and all also, like each operation is a connector here in Mule 4. All right, as usual, you can test connection if you want to check if the connection is successful. Okay, the output type of select statement results in an array. I will show you in our debugging session, but keep this in mind, they might ask you in our certification point of view. If database select does not return any rows, we will receive an empty array instead of null payload. Okay, if you are doing select star from the sum table where id equal to 2, and if there is no rows returned, it is always an empty array. It is never called as null payload. So whenever you are doing validation checks and all, you should not go with like is not null, you should go with like is empty or something like that. Okay, so let's go with the hands-on session. You will feel like quite interesting here. All that I want you to do first, before doing that, what I wanted to show is select statement Java JDBC code, Spring MVC or whatever it is, Spring Boot. Okay, so to get a data or do a simple select statement in Java, we need to write like these many lines of codes. You have to code all this stuff. Okay, I'm just comparing like why MuleSoft is more powerful, why it is called as no code, low code, right? So all these lines of codes will be done at the back end itself. Okay, all that you need to do is go to Anypoint Studio. Before that, I told you like I have installed my MySQL Workbench. Okay, so MySQL Workbench is a tool to view the tables, rows, etc. Okay, I have installed my MySQL, and this is my instance, local instance. If I double click on this, and I have already created a table, I can give you the what do you say, the create statement, but you can also create your own table. It is not very hard. Okay, you can see I have some set of rows already present in my database. Now what I will do is all these tables, all this data, let me do one thing. I'm not sure if I can delete them. So delete rows, apply. Let's see if I can delete it. Okay, perfect. So let me delete this data also. Delete rows, apply, go back. I think this is not required, but this one, right click, delete rows, apply, and yes, right now I don't have any details here, so send it. Yes, it is null. Okay, so this you have to install and you have to play around this. Okay, tables you can create. I have created an instance called Mule, and tables you can create multiple tables. All that I can do is like probably like create statement. Okay, this is my create table statement. What I can do is I can put it somewhere, probably I can give you somewhere, but maybe in the comment section or something. You can copy paste and create the table, but I always suggest like you go ahead, like right click on the table, create table, give your own table name, and try to add this column names and all. Okay, fine. So I have my table already. So bank details, select rows. I don't have any details right now. I have deleted everything. Very simple, very simple. Instead of writing these many lines of code, I told you it's about drag and drop and configuring. MuleSoft is all about drag and drop. First things first, you need to add the database module. There are two ways. Click on add module and you can see database. Take it to the left side and drop it. It will automatically add here. Okay, and then you can find multiple operations over here, or remove this module. If you don't know where you have to click, just search for select. Okay, there is select statement here. Directly drag and drop onto the flow somewhere here. Okay, automatically it will add on the left side and you can see it. Okay, now that we are, first initial step is I want to select some data, whatever is there. Right now I don't have any data, but I wanted to show from scratch. Okay, as usual, let me add one more HTTP listener here, and let me put like database as giving a meaningful name. Again, I am not giving any display name. You can see all our listeners, so again, how can I know that what it is, right? You should always use proper naming conventions. Okay, now select statement. Right now again we have to configure. That is the first thing. Click on plus. I told you, right? Here mandatory configuration details are driver, host, port, blah 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 blah. Don't worry. Here first you need to choose which database you wanted to connect. By default there are few options to connect to Oracle, MySQL, MS SQL, three different of database. But if your company or if your organization is using any other database, what you can do is you can use generic connection. Okay, and you can ask your team to provide the thin URL for that. Okay, for now I am going to use MySQL connection, which is like very simple, like how you log in into Facebook or Instagram. You just enter your login username, password, etc. It is something like that. Now coming back to our slides, driver. So first thing, driver. Another beautiful thing with MuleSoft is even if you don't know the driver, just click on configure and click on add recommended libraries. Then it will say like, this is the connector you wanted to add. Click on OK. Automatically that particular connector is added and your driver is added. You don't have to do any extra work like here. Okay, clear? MS SQL Spring MVC crude example if you go. Okay, and if you go with any other website, so it will ask you to do that, like give me 1 second. So it will like ask you to add these dependencies and all, like MySQL. Here the connector Java, right? This one is automatically added here for us by MuleSoft by clicking on this add recommended libraries. So you don't have to do much work on that. Host, I am using my local database, so I am using local port for by default for MySQL. You can see in your workbench here the port is like 3306 by default, and it is different for, so I told you, right, any application, any software will run on some port. Okay, that port value should be unique, means on 3306 only database should run, not any other port. And if you are giving HTTP listener with 3306, it will say address already in bind. Okay, user, my username is root, so I will keep root. Password, I know my password. I can also show you password because you cannot connect to my local because it is locally deployed. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Okay, you can either give database name here. It is nothing but the instance name. If you go here, this is the database name or the service or instance. That's what I have mentioned here, like database, service or instance, one and the same. So I can give Mule. All that you need to do is test the connection even before deploying the application. If your test connection is successful, then you can go ahead and do the math. Okay, it is taking some time. Okay, connection is failing. We'll see what it is. Okay, let me figure it out, what went wrong. 1 2 3 4 5 6. Let me remove this 3306. Could not obtain connection from this. Okay, Mule. This is MySQL. Close other tabs. Let's see the properties. Right click. If I have edit connection, localhost 3306, is that what I give? Yes. Password, let me clear. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Okay, test the connection. It says like successfully made SPL connection. SSL not enabled. SSL is also not enabled, so it should be good. Okay, 3306 root. It should work. Let's see why it is not working. Oh, this is not local, it's local host. That is the mistake. See, small times dumb mistakes can happen. I think this time it should work. You can see test connection is successful. Okay, so localhost 3306, this is my username and password, everything. Now very simple, I don't have to write the lines of codes like all this stuff, not required. All these lines of code is you can see here, right? What you're doing, username, password, the URL, all this stuff is eradicated. Now only thing that we have to do is write the SQL query. That SQL query also, most of the time if you are a developer, your architect or people from database team will do this stuff. But for now what you can do is select star from this one, that will give the result, right? So I will copy this, and always it is best method, I will copy and paste it here. Okay, and when you're copy pasting, please try to check the double quotes or single quotes, everything. Okay, select star from, I don't think you need a comma here. Select star from mule.bank details. For best practice, I am always using, like, I wanted to display it in a JSON format, so I will click like JSON. But however, I will show you the debug mode, how this particular connector, how this particular output is being displayed when it is having no data. Okay, right now we don't have any data, isn't it? So still let's debug, and then we can try to add one row into the database directly manually and see the select statement output. Also the next step is like how to insert rows from MuleSoft application, that part. Okay, it's very simple guys. MuleSoft is very simple to learn. All that you need is, when I say simple, don't neglect it, try to do hands-on. Hands-on is really important, not only for MuleSoft, if that matters to any technology that you learn. Alright, let's see if our application is deployed or not. You should always go to this console and check. It will take some time to deploy your application, but don't worry, have some patience. Now my application is deployed. Now let me go ahead and run my Postman. This time this is a different one. So database, I guess, if I'm not wrong. Oops, database. I don't need to pass anything for now, so I'll give as like body as none, because it's a select statement. Okay, where is our database? Here. Now you are on database. Okay, let's see. Currently the payload is nothing. Okay, attributes you find all, nothing is there. Now you are connecting to the database and see the output of database. Okay, it is saying payload size equal to 0. Okay, now if you go to x plus y and see type of payload, it still says array. Okay, it says array. If you expand this one, right, if you expand this time, it shows output application Java. So type is array. Java, again, it can have an object and an array, but it is basically a Java object. Then I will convert that into JSON, and you can see you are getting an empty array. It is not null. Okay, that is what you need to know. Now that I don't have any details here, it is giving empty values. Let me try to put some values. Okay, like Sravan. Okay, account number 1234, password 3456, balance 120. Okay, that's it. Click on apply. This is, again, I will try to copy this insert statement because that will be useful for our next connector. Okay, for now, that is why we use MySQL Workbench. It will show you everything here. Click on apply. I didn't add any customer ID because I used customer ID as auto generated, but you can add your own customer ID. So now you can see I have these details. So if I run this query again on my dashboard, I can see one row is reflected. Now we are connecting to database, so it should give that row here. Okay, Go to next. Can you see here? It says insensitive hash map. Expand it. You can see there is one row password balance. Again guys, it's not always true that you will get the row column names in order. Cust id, cust name. It is hash. It is case insensitive hash map. Hash map is like it can be random. So you're getting these fields, right? Password, balance, account, blah 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 blah. Again go to x plus y, check the type of payload. Okay, it's an array, and if you convert this particular hash map, the type is here application Java, but I'm converting it into JSON, and you can see my details are present over here, right? Clear? If at all you want the details in sequence, like what is there here, okay, what you can do, I will just copy this in your transform message. Again, you have to use your mapping skills. You know, arrays, we can apply map operator, so it's something like payload map, and you have all this instead of this one, like dollar dot password. Okay, again dollar dot balance. Okay, let me do that, so that dollar dot account number, then dollar dot custody, and dollar dot cust name. So if you want your cust name to be there at the top, so this is how you can make use of DataWeave to have it with a proper. So I will just use this cust name, cust this. Maybe first I will give cust ID. Okay, so now all good. So I'll just save it, so that you will get this time, every time when you run it, you will get that order. Okay, earlier it was like random order that is coming from the database, but now I modified this output. That's what MuleSoft is all about, right? Exchanging the information and transforming it whatever customer wants. Like now customer says like, hey, I don't want the password, or he don't want the password to be displayed. You can remove this password field, right? How? By using this transformation. Okay, DataWeave. Okay, let's see whether the application is deployed or not. Yes, it is successfully deployed, and you send the request. I'll just resume this. Now it is coming according to your requirement. Now let me go ahead and add one more. 4 5 6 7 account number. Okay, let me apply, close it, run it. You can see 2 rows now. You should be seeing two rows now when you run this application. If you send, you can see size is 2 because I have 2 payloads now, this one and this one, Shravan and Lingam. Resume it. Very simple, you are getting 2 records. So this is how you will connect to a database and retrieve the data from database. See the difference between writing the lines of code and how MuleSoft helps you to eradicate that work. That's why it is the name came Mule. Mule is like a donkey, and it's a crossbreed of a donkey and a horse, right? And the donkey work will be done by MuleSoft itself, and your applications run like a horse, right? So that's why the name MuleSoft came up. So yep, this is select statement. So another important thing is, always I'm trying to add manually through this particular dashboard and all, but can we start inserting data from MuleSoft application? Yes, you can do that. So for that, what I will do is, I will go here, I will stop the application. Okay, let me keep the database select as it is. Let me change the name as database, from database to database select, so that every time we add, it should show database select. Okay, now let me add another HTTP listener. Drag and drop. Put database insert, Okay, now I want to use insert query, so I will search in insert. There are two components, bulk insert and insert. I will go with only one insert. I want to insert one by one. Okay, and choose the connection. You don't need to create every time. There is already a connection created. Click on drop down, select that one, and you don't know the SQL statement. That is very important thing, right? You need an SQL statement. For that, what I am doing, just imagine. So I will type something blah 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 blah. Click on apply. I am not going to apply, but I just wanted this query in real time. The database team can provide you, or your architect will provide you the insert query. But so what I will do is I'll just copy paste, and what I need to do is, when I'm doing some copy paste, sometimes this double quotes or single quotes will give an issue. So for that, what you can do is you can replace with whatever this is there. Okay, okay. So when it come to values, this is very important. Here, if you are placing these values by default, right, default every time this one, it will always pass these values, but we need to make this as dynamic. How to make this as dynamic? You have to make use of this input parameters. This is this is the important information, because you will never pass the values directly here. You will pass these parameters through here. Click on fx. Okay, so here you need to pass all the values like here. Okay, either if you are not clicking fx, just put this one and pass the values, but if you are clicking fx, right, you can pass the values something like this. Now the order of the column, the value should be same, like whatever value first you are passing here, like first, for example, apex, account number 12345 and amount 1234. Okay, first let me check the data type. That is also very important. So to know the data type, you have to go description, or I can just go to create statement. Here balance is a decimal value, so I should not pass string. Okay, so what I will do is here, yeah, anyways, I will pass these values. So you have to, here customer name, the first value should be here. Okay, now if you don't want to pass these values directly here, and you want to pass those values from input, carefully observe my syntax. This is really important. First things, I will remove everything. That is what I do in real time projects also. Remove everything. How many columns are there? 1, 2, 3. You should definitely pass 3 values here, because you are passing 3 here. Okay, next step, what I do, please follow the same step. That is the syntax. If you want to pass the value, colon, copy this name, give as, you can pass any name. Okay, you can pass from here, you can pass any name like Shravan also, but always best practice custom name. Okay, so colon followed by name. Okay, then copy the same name here, colon, and you have to pass whatever name you want, you and pass it. Okay, this is the syntax. Okay, colon custom name here. What if you are passing like xxx? You can still pass values like here, give any name here xxx, but please make sure that you are giving that reference name here xxx. That means you are telling that input parameters, whatever values you are starting with colon xxx, that value should be passed over here. That is the importance, but best practice should always be like this, so that you won't get confused. Okay, that is my first value. Next, second is account number. Here put a comma, again colon, no spaces, direct ACCN, again comma, colon. Okay, 1 2 3 4 5, whatever it is, comma, enter. I already have Shravan with an account name Shravan. I will say apex, click on it, enter. Now another one is password. Okay, password, and don't give any space here, you should directly paste password. So here password colon, again you can give random password here, comma. There is one more field which is missing here, that is balance. So you should have balance as well. So go here, put balance here, and please make sure that whatever column names are here should match with this one, the balance here, okay, or else it will fail. So let me put balance, copy this balance, and again comma, colon, no spaces, paste here, and here also balance, you can give balance. As this is decimal 123.56, I will write. Okay, so this is the syntax. All right. Okay, you are passing all the values from here to here. Right now I am hard coding the values, but I will show you in the next example how to pass values and how to use DataWeave for this. Okay, for now I'll show you here. Put a transform message. Okay, see what is the output for. I told you, right, whenever you are connecting to external system, you have to know what is the type of request that you are getting, what is the type of response you are getting. That's why I keep transform message, because I will know what kind of response that database is giving. Okay, let me run the request again. Let's see if the first value is getting inserted, like if I'm able to insert successfully, then we can start dynamically evaluating our this thing. My application is getting deployed. Guys, if you do practice, it is very easy and it will be more fun, right? You feel like, you know, hey, I'm trying to insert data into database using my application. Okay, so, and I'm using my local database, so it works only on my local. If you try to deploy this application into Cloud Hub, it will not work. You have to choose a database where you have it available in the cloud. Okay, let's wait for it to get deployed. Sometimes it takes more than 1 minute. I see it is deployed successfully. So if I go here, my postman, here I am using database insert, right? Send the request. Okay, my request is here. Now you can see, let's see what is the output of insert statement. Unless and until we have error, it is saying like you have a syntax error. You have a syntax error, check the manual correspondence, blah blah blah, for the right syntax to use it here. Okay, line number 1. So let's see what's the mistake that we are doing. So what I will do is I will try to remove the single quotes here. Okay, even this double quotes, single quotes I can remove. See, this kind of errors will come only when you're, instead of doing everything at one go, we can go step by step. First step is we have tested connection in that way. So remove all the spaces that we have. So account, password, balance, everything, and hopefully I'm using the insert query. Okay, let me save this and redeploy, get it redeployed. Let me go to console. When I save it automatically, it will redeploy because I have chosen this project build automatically, so it will run it. So here you got, like, it's saying like you have an error in your SQL syntax, means your syntax is wrong. That's why, like, we need to copy paste and see if anything is missing or not. Okay, let's try it out one more time. Here you can see it is still progressing. Okay, or what you can do is you can stop your application and right click and redeploy again if it is not working. It will take a bit of time because we have multiple components like validator component and all, right? So it will take as many connectors as you have in your application. That will take time to load the dependencies and all to build the project, so don't worry about it. Build is success. After building, it will deploy. So this build will create a jar file where we use it for deployments. I think I have shown you in the development of development phase first part. Now it is deploying. Alright, my application is deployed successfully here. So let's go back and see if this works. Fingers crossed. Yep, it is working. So those spaces and single quotes are not required anymore. But can you see the output of, the insert statement is something like this. Okay, it will show the affected rows. One row is affected, and resume it. It says like affected rows is 1. Now if you go to your database and run this, you should see apex hours. Can you see here apex blah 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 blah? And if you run it again, okay, still again affected rows is 1. This time again. Now 2 rows were added with 2 different cust IDs, but the values are same because I am hard coding the values in my insert statements. Now all that I need to do is I need to change only in the input parameter assigned values. Here I am, here you can see. Let me double click and make it bigger. Okay, what I can do is here, instead of hard coding the values, let me pass them through input so that I will map accordingly. Okay, JSON. Here what I will do, instead of cust name, see, how can a user know what is cust name? Cust name means it doesn't make sense for him. Okay, username, I will use username. Okay, this time I will give MuleSoft. Next, so here you should write payload dot whatever input you are passing, payload dot username. You are assigning those values here. Okay, next ACC number. ACC number, again put a valid name for input, people who are requesting, the consumers, right? So account number, so it is like you say like account number. I'll give it properly 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 and put this account number here. Like instead of using hard coding values, you can say payload dot account number, because this is an object. This whole thing is a payload, and payload dot account number will give this 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 value. Likewise, password, you can give password normally like password. Okay, like you can pass 5 6 7 8 comma enter. Password I can use like payload dot password directly, so payload dot password. And then balance, instead of balance I can write like amount, because amount that you wanted to insert. So 145, whatever it is. So here I will write payload dot. In this way I can dynamically change the values and insert the data. Alright, so we are all good. Save it. While this is getting deployed, I wanted to reiterate about the syntax that is really important for interview perspectives or certification point of view. So here colon is very important. Colon followed by any name that you give it here, the same name should be matching here. Okay, if you give any wrong name here, instead of cust name you give some account name or something like that, it will pass as null value. There is no value that will be passed. So this is the syntax. And input parameters, it's like though it is showing like in examination point of view, if you uncheck fx, it will be like hash and square brackets. Inside that you will have this. Like for example, if I uncheck this one, it should be something like this one. Okay, this is the actual syntax. Okay, hash and this one. And if you click on fx, this is fine. Okay, please make sure about that. So let me see if this application is started. Oops. My system is a bit slow today, so apologies for that. Okay, let's see if our application, yes, it is successfully deployed, but let me put this here. Yes, it is started. Now see the difference. Okay, send it, resume it. I got one affected rows here. If you run here, you can see MuleSoft in my workbench, correct? I will expand this as well, MuleSoft, right? Likewise, now let me remove the breakpoint here so that I don't have to debug every time. Here also select statement I will remove. Okay, like now you can add as many rows as you want. So here now I will change like TechZone. I can pass the same values. One affected row is there, automatically my database will be updated with these values. And if you don't want to see any database, I will just close. If you don't want to see the database, we can always make use of our database select endpoint, which will give none, all the rows every time. Can you see here? You are getting the information in the JSON format. So guys, this is how you can connect to database. That is all about database connector that I wanted to show you. It's very interesting. Please try to install your database and try to do hands-on on it. All right, so we have done hands-on, and next thing I wanted to show in our coming sessions, we'll be starting the integration with Salesforce. That is all with like MuleSoft for Salesforce developers, and this is not only for the Salesforce developers, but this is for everyone. So before that, I want you guys to set up Salesforce account. All that you need to do is go to developer.salesforce.com. So what I want you to do is go to your database account, like go to your developers.salesforce.com. okay, I have already logged in because I have my credentials, but if you don't have an account, okay, so please try to log into developer portal. Okay, I have login credentials already, and select the product Salesforce, and you can create your own login. If you don't have an account, here it is saying like this, but if you are new to Salesforce, click on Trailblazer account. Okay, try to log in. If you don't have an account created already, please try to log in with one of these methods. I have already logged in with my LinkedIn account. So once you create your account with this, what you can do is then you can go ahead and click on products Salesforce. That will take you to login.salesforce account. Okay, if you don't have login.salesforce account, and you can click on login with this and try for free. Okay, click on try for free and enter all your details and start my free trial. You will get a 30 days free trial, and then you will get a username to your username assigned to your account. Okay, I have my username already created, so you can just log in. Okay, yes, then you will be routed to this Salesforce account. All right, so you can go to the advanced setup. This is how something it looks like. This is Salesforce developer account where we will start our integration with Salesforce. So please try to create a Salesforce account. It is very easy. If you have already one, save your username and password somewhere so that we can use it in our next sessions. Okay, so that's all for today's session. So please do this hands-on. So we have discussed about validation component, database connector, and we have seen how to create an account in Salesforce. And please do follow us on Salesforce Apex Hours and also my MuleSoft-TechZone channel. And if you have any questions, feel free to comment on the YouTube video. Hope to see you in the next session. Thank you.